obesity in the UK is not just a peripheral, it's definitely not a peripheral kind of health issue. It is a kind of a characteristic of our modern UK society that needs to be challenged. So we have a trend in UK society, and that trend is that obesity is increasing. Okay, so we need to understand what we mean by this concept and what effect it actually has. Let's first of all just clarify what we mean by obesity. First of all, obesity is a scenario where an individual has a body mass index of greater than 30. Now, I'm going to actually do a separate video on actually measuring obesity, so I'd like you to sort of just be aware of that in relation to that particular video where I'll look at BMI in a little bit more detail. But this is what we would consider to be kind of like extreme fatness. It's where, you know, you've got a body fat proportion which is getting to the point where it's going to make you unwell, and that's the point I would sort of lead off from this. It leads to ill health. Okay, so this is actually a threat to your health. So before we go any further, let's actually look at what that ill health might be. Let's actually look at the scenario in the UK. What we've got here is this dark blue line represents the trend in males to be obese in the UK, and we're looking from around about 1994 to around about 2008 as the more recent date. And what we can see on this blue line is that we're getting ever increasing numbers of people who have a BMI over 30 and are male. If we look at the pink curve, which is pink arbitrarily to represent women, interesting concept in itself, that one, but anyway, we get the same trend, an actual higher start point. So we can already say that traditionally or previously in the UK, women tend to be a little bit bulkier or have greater levels of obesity than men do in the UK, and that is likewise increasing with a more recent dip. So what we can see already is that the differences between the genders is actually being equalised. And the other thing we can say as well is, look, the forecast for 2020 suggests that male obesity will actually outstrip female obesity in the next 5 to 6 years. 2014 as I record this, so 6 years away. So it looks like male obesity is going to catch and overtake female obesity. So why is this actually a problem? Well, first of all, there are health implications, and I will talk to you about those health implications. But secondly, there are cost implications. And all of the conditions which I'm going to describe to you in a moment have cost implications. So we're saying around about £4.2 billion a year is being spent in the UK on correcting and dealing with obesity-related issues, and 2.3 billion of that 4.2 spent directly on obesity itself. So this is a costly situation, estimated to be 5% of the overall spending on the National Health Service. So this is a massive issue. And what makes it a massive issue? And the first point I'd like you to be aware of is that those people experiencing a body mass index of greater than 30, they have an increased likelihood of coronary heart disease. Okay, so I already sort of encourage you to think back to your AS studies. You remember we did all of that cardiovascular and respiratory health, all that stuff we did. Remember what we talked about? Coronary heart disease is increased. So let's have a think about what that actually means and some of the conditions that incorporates. The first one I'd like you to be aware of is a condition called arteriosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis. And this is the idea that the vessels of the arteries and the arterioles themselves actually harden. They actually become more solid